experience which I have able to move freely before this 21 days. See her, the miracle. Not able to get up herself, she needed help. Same condition she happened with her experience. I'm scared of talking. Extremely grateful and thankful, Swamiji. And I want everybody in this, especially people of Karnataka, to see this miracle happening. And everybody can experience that. And Karnataka, please open your eyes wide and look into this. And media especially has to open the eyes and look into this miracle. And nobody else can do except our incarnation, Paramahamsa Nithyananda. Nithyananda Swamiji ki Jai! Nithyananda Swamiji ki! Nithyananda Swamiji ki! Thank you, Swami.
the goals of ending poverty in creating a world free from hunger. Indeed, the study explains that closing the gender gap in farm productivity and the wage gap in agricultural employment would increase global gross domestic product by nearly $1 trillion and reduce the number of food insecure people by 45 trillion. And similarly, benefits from projects that empower women are higher than those than just mainstream gender. The authors of the report explain that if half of small-scale producers benefited from development interventions that focused on empowering women, it would significantly raise the incomes of an additional 58 million people and increase the resilience of an additional 235 million. Efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable agri-food system depends on the empowerment of all women and gender equality. Women have always worked in agri-food systems. The report also reveals that while some success has been achieved in reducing gender gaps in digital access and finance, progress in reducing most gender gaps has stagnated and reversed, hindering improvements in everything from nutrition to early child development, from income to access to quality jobs. Women lack access to training, credit, and to fundamental tools, including land, fertilizers, irrigation systems that empower them. Inequality in agri-food systems persists, partly because policies, institutions, rights to resources. 7% toward the Hindu law has since the beginning and empowerment of women versus the education, Yogini Savanipita, to empower the Hindu script, gender-based violence and lack of in view of equal opportunities in and trade groups, formal educational program for literary of Hinduism. And later on in the slides, we are going to see amazing pictures of these services to the indigenous for the indigenous women. So all of you can also be part of this great Kailasa mission of empowering women, of contributing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism on the Women Foundation World, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So these are such a young age. September 20 in 2010. A number of social initiatives, such as the Annadanam, which is free balance, are trained into life skills, forms of employment to empower women, training programs, organizing them, agronomics, farming. In fact, in the Constitution of Kailasa, which is based on the Vedas and Agamas, basic necessities of life should be made available to all, which is including food. And the International Humanitarian Red Home Agency has been established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and it works in association with the Kailasa's Nithyananda Annalaya towards the unified goal of the no hungry stomach, in compliance with Kailasa's economic policy of giving free food to all the citizens adhering to the Vedas and Agamas principle described by Paramashiva in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Briguvali chapter 9, Navamo Anuvaka, verse 1 and 7, Saptamo Anuvaka. Paramashiva declares, "Let us create and share food. Let all hungry stomachs be fulfilled with food. Let us not waste food. No place you can drop food where there is no hunger, either outside or inside, and that is being authentic with food." So, abiding to this principle, Hinduism has the best to offer to the world. The Paka Shastra being one of them, which is the ancient cookbook of Hinduism. So the history of Kailasa is one of tireless progress towards realizing, living, and freely practicing our founding Hindu principle, which is Aham Brahmasmi. Every technique, principle, and action described in the Vedas and Agamas is the pathway to realize the purpose of human life, living enlightenment in every aspect of life, including the consumption of food. So Paramashiva, the primordial divinity of Hinduism, an embodiment of the supreme consciousness, himself reveals that the science of food and nutrition in meticulous detail in the Paka Shastra, the ancient cookbook of Hinduism, that the food served is not to fill the void in our stomachs. Rather, it is to experience, expand, and realize our higher identity, Paramashiva. And so the Red Om, in collaboration with Kailasa, Uniting Nations for Nutritious Food and a Hunger-Free World around the world, has served over 1 billion organic Sadhvik vegetarian meals through more than 16,000 food banks and continues to expand its services to fulfill its goal of eradicating hunger on a global scale till date. The Red Om aims to prevent hunger by deploying thousands of trained religious peacekeepers worldwide and uses the Vedagamic methods and techniques to nourish communities through crisis and beyond. The Red Om has joined the fight against poverty and world hunger. So the No Hungry Stomach or the No Hungry Home initiative was launched by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself, and serving highly nutritious, life-saving meals for starving and malnourished children and their families in developing countries and around the world through Kailasa's Analayas or food banks initiative as the best practice, not only from a societal context, but also for one's moral and spiritual upliftment. Initiating the No Hungry Stomach project in Kailasa's spiritual embassies, legations, consular offices, and other facilities, including in all the Hindu temples, monasteries, satsang temples, Paruka Mandir, satsang centers, micronations, Paramashiva Sena Shaktas, the healing centers, the franchises campuses, and Hindu universities, and the schools around the world, which conduct several free food drives in affected areas, has been one of the main contributions of Kailasa and of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And here you can see how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, at such a young age, himself personally serving people, distributing organic food to everybody. It's such I mean, these pictures really are a treasure, you know. I mean, it shows, you know, the hard work of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who has single-handedly built Kailasa, which is the only Hindu nation. So all of you can be part of this great happening on planet Earth, once in a lifetime happening on planet Earth, and be part of this amazing opportunity. And here you can see more pictures of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself personally serving thousands of people. And these pictures were taken between 2003 and 2004. And more pictures of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in 2006, who you can see tirelessly serving thousands of devotees. And this picture was actually taken after a long event program that was personally conducted by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So now let's look at the sustainable agriculture that Kailasa has developed. Paramashiva states in the Prithvi Sukta Atharva Veda that my mother is expanded the initiative of our earth thesis such as organic farming, Punankani, and all the spiritual embassies and are distributed collaboration with Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations techniques of classes of Kailasa and chemical and prevent the pollution of vertical gardening is another technique implemented on a vertically suspended panel by using hydroponics. Maximum crop yield as a means of VO Masa has implemented lesser time period. And in the however, Kailasa's Department of Agriculture constructive methods in let's just mother is earth and I am her, the initiative of our earth, our spiritual embassies of Kailasa. Back thousands and thousands of years, reverence such as Bringraj, Ponankani, and its spiritual collaboration with the Kailasa Uniting Nations for Ethical Environmentalism has adopted and implemented techniques of sustainable agriculture. organic farming is widely practiced in the various spiritual embassies of Kailasa. And chemical-free fertilizers, such as the use of cow dung to grow organic toxin-free produce and prevent the pollution of air, has been adopted. Vertical gardening is another technique that has been implemented in the spiritual embassies of Kailasa to cultivate and nourish vegetation on a vertically suspended panel by using hydroponics. Vertical gardening provides natural filtration of air, providing pure and fresh air, as well as creating a sustainable ecosystem. So density farming, planting at a density in excess of that, which gives a maximum crop yield as a means of self-provisioning and increasing the efficiency of the resources has been adopted. And adaptation of these techniques revive the tradition of sustainable agriculture and also introduce all of humanity to the natural benefits gifted by Bhumi Devi or Mother Earth, and a contributory effort to make a green, healthy, safe, and clean planet for the oxygen-free future generations. We have organic farming, and in today's world has adopted the method of conventional farming to meet the world's food demands. And this method of agriculture uses several chemical compositions in increasing the yield of the crops at a lesser time period. In the process, conventional agriculture produces increased greenhouse gas emissions, which of course contributes to global warming, as well as soil erosion, water pollution, and threatens the human life. So Kailasa's Department of Agriculture strictly adheres to the organic way of farming rather than the conventional farming. And this method of farming focuses on producing quality yield. And Kailasa's Department of Agriculture has taken constructive methods in increasing the yield using the chemical-free fertilizers, such as the use of cow dung and vegetarian compost to improve the overall health of the soil, meeting the quantity demand and also preventing the pollution of soil. So around the world, Kailasa has served over 1 billion organic sattvic vegetarian meals and continuing through more than 16,000 food banks. And Kailasa continues to expand its services to provide, to fulfill its goal of eradicating hunger on a global scale. And I would like to mention that during the recent food crisis that we had, because of the Ukraine and Russia war, Kailasa had a surplus of food when many countries were, running out of food, for their citizens. So, but Kailasa had a surplus of food, which it was, distributing globally. 24/7 Annadan was actually going on. And even till date, in many of our Kailasa ecosystems, in our spiritual embassies, continuously Annadan, distribution of food, organic meals is done. So the Red Om aims to prevent hunger by deploying thousands of trained religious peacekeepers worldwide, and also uses the Vedagamic methods and techniques to nourish the communities through crisis and beyond. The Red Dome has really joined the fight against poverty and world hunger. So Kailasa has also adopted the permaculture. The limits of conventional agriculture have increased the need for a transition to an agricultural paradigm that is both environmentally and economically viable. And Kailasa around the globe have incorporated the science of permaculture, which is the conscious design and maintenance of agriculturally productive ecosystems that promotes the diversity, stability, and resilience of natural ecosystems. This effective method of farming has helped in producing organic yield during the dear COVID-19 pandemic when there was a shortage of food and also raw materials. Permaculture enabled self-sufficiency in all of Kailasa's spiritual embassies. Crop rotation. Kailasa also adheres to the practice of crop rotation in its farming methodologies, where different crops are grown in the same field at different times over a period of time. Crop rotation aims to create favorable conditions for crop growth, enhancing soil fertility, and also minimizing the development of pests and weeds, as well as ensuring better nutrient management for achieving the key goal of protecting soil from degradation in any way, including depletion of fertility and erosion. And here, we have beautiful pictures that were taken at the Adi Kailasa Nithyananda Sarvanyapeetham, which has adopted sustainable agricultural practices such as the one that we've just seen, the vertical gardening, high density farming, as well as organic farming. And here you can see Kailasa in Salem that houses acres of agricultural land for sustainable practices for cultivation of fresh food. And here you can see Kailasa in Kashi, which is the creation of ideal cultivation ecosystem on the banks of Mother Ganga. And with this, we come to the end of the presentation. I really hope that this was an enlightening presentation, information to all of you. And please do remember to sign up to be part of this great happening of Kailasa, which is the only Hindu nation functioning on cosmic principles as codified in the ancient Hindu scriptures, the Vedas and the Agamas. Do not miss this once in a lifetime opportunity to be part of the building of Kailasa. Please do sign up at on the link being projected on TV. And with this, we come to the end of the presentation. Please stay tuned, and very shortly we'll be receiving the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism for the live darshan. Nithyanandam. So welcome back. And there was some technical glitch in the streaming. So because of that, I would like to present the beginning of the information on food and agriculture. So for those who were not able to properly hear the beginning of the presentation. So as I was saying, with the grace and blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, delegates from the United States of Kailasa participated in an important event that was organized by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, or the FAO. And this event shed light on the indispensable role of women in food and agriculture. And today, I would like to share with all of you all about Kailasa's global contributions, unique contributions, in fact, in the food system in the Hindu way, and how Kailasa and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, as a visionary, has been empowering women, indigenous women, to take up leadership roles in this industry. So, just to give a summary of the event that was organized by the FAO, a new report has been published just a few days ago. And this report revealed that women's equality in agri-food systems could actually boost the global economy by $1 trillion and also reduce food insecurity by 45 million. The report, which is the first of its kind since 2010, revealed that tackling gender inequalities in agri-food systems and empowering women reduces hunger, boosts the economy, and also reinforces the resilience to shocks like climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic. The report also highlighted that globally, 36% of working women are employed in agri-food systems, along with 38% of working men. However, women's roles tend to be marginalized and their working conditions are likely to be worse than men's, which is being irregular, informal, part-time, low-skilled, or labor-intensive. Likewise, women engaged in wage employment in agriculture earns 82 cents for every dollar that men earn. And women also have less secure tenure over land, less access to credit and training, and have to work with technology that are designed for men. And along with discrimination, these inequalities create a 24% gender gap in productivity between women and men farmers on farms of equal size. So the FAO Director General Q Donggu, in the foreword of the report, said that if we tackle the gender inequalities endemic in agri-food systems and empower women, the world will take a leap forward in addressing the goals of ending poverty and creating a world free from hunger. Indeed, the study explains that closing the gender gap in farm productivity and the wage gap in agricultural employment would increase global gross domestic product by nearly $1 trillion and reduce the number of food insecure people by 45 million. And similarly, benefits from projects that empower women are higher than those that are just mainstream gender. And just shortly, we are going to see, the number of projects that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has initiated just to empower women. So the authors of the report explain that if half of small-scale producers benefited from development interventions that focused on empowering women, it would significantly raise the incomes of an additional 58 million people and increase the resilience of an additional 235 million. Efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable agri-food systems depend on the empowerment of all women and gender equality. And as a matter of fact, women have always worked in agri-food systems. So it is high time that equality is brought in this industry. And which is what Kailasa and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been working on continuously since the beginning of his mission. So the report also revealed that while some success has been achieved in reducing gender gaps in, for example, digital access and finance, progress in reducing most gender gaps has stagnated or reversed, hindering improvements in everything from nutrition to early child development, from income to access to quality jobs. And women lack access to training, credit, and to fundamental tools, including land, fertilizers, irrigation systems that empower them and enable them to make an equal contribution. The authors of the report underscore that gender inequality in agri-food systems persists, partly because policies, institutions, and discriminatory social norms are still constraining equal opportunities and equal rights to resources. And while 75% of policy documents relating to agriculture and rural development from 68 countries recognize women's roles and women's challenges in agriculture and rural development, only 19% included policy goals related to gender. So the gap in food insecurity between men and women has in fact widened from 1.7 percentage points in 2019 to 4.3 percentage points in 2021. And overall, the report concluded that reducing gender inequalities in livelihood, improving access to resources, and promoting resilience is a critical pathway towards gender equality, women's empowerment, and a more just and sustainable agri-food systems. And although the international community has, just recently started to prioritize women's empowerment, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, upholding the Hindu law, which really empowers women in every way, has, since the beginning of his mission of reviving Kailasa, emphasized on the development and empowerment of women. And as we mentioned again and again, in Kailasa, 90% of the leadership positions are held by women. And also, while the Constitution of Kailasa stipulates that 33% of parliamentary positions should be held by women, we have 90% of women in the Parliament of Kailasa. And the Manusmriti in chapter 3, verse 56, Paramashiva beautifully says, where women are honored, divinity blossoms there. And wherever women are dishonored, all action, no matter how noble it may be, remains unfruitful. So, in view of equal access to the right of quality education, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has established a number of primary schools across the globe. And we have Kailasa's Nithyananda Gurukul and also the e-Gurukul, which is learning through digital means that provide Vedic education for indigenous rural girl children who typically face multiple barriers based on the gender, ethnicity, poverty, and disability. And of course, we have Kailasa's Nithyananda Hindu University, which is the largest Hindu university globally, and which has offered till date free education to more than 20 million youth, having its extended campuses in more than 150 countries. And Kailasa has also established a number of yoga and meditation universities. For example, Kailasa's Yogini Sarvanya Pita, which is specifically meant to for women, to empower women, to empower the quality of life and emphasis on life solutions through the Vedas and Agamas, empowering the indigenous rural women, fighting against wrongful gender stereotyping, gender-based violence, and lack of inclusive and quality learning environments. And in view of equal opportunities in workforce and social responsibilities, Kailasa has established a number of social initiatives. The Kailasa Nithyananda Lakshmi, which is a microfinancing service to indigenous community to empower rural women in various dimensions of life, reforming the market and institutional failures that lock women to highly vulnerable forms of employment and empower them with the self-employment with equal opportunities through the Hindu economic principles. And Kailasa has also established the self-help groups initiative to empower rural women, especially widows, single moms, and survivors of domestic violence as entrepreneurs through Kailasa's Women Foundation. And the Women Empowerment Self-Help Centers were actually launched by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself in 108 places around the world in 2009. Yes, and here you can see pictures of from the launch of the 108 Women Empowerment Centers, Kailasa's Nithyananda Women Foundation, attracting thousands of women. And here you can see the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself inaugurating, and you can see a long list of the 108 centers on the board, and how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself is personally conducting the classes and educating the indigenous women personally. And here you can see how the indigenous women are being appreciated and recognized by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, through the Nithyananda Grama Seva Yogana. And here you can see hundreds of indigenous women availing free medical checkups by trained medical professionals in Adi Kailasa Nithyananda Sarvanya Pita in Birdi, Bangalore, soon after the Nithyananda Grama Seva Yogana program. And actually, free medical care is one of the policies of Kailasa, where in the Vedas and Agamas, Paramashiva declares that, of course, the basic necessities of life should be provided for free, and medical care is one of them. So the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has really implemented this policy of Paramashiva of providing free medical care to all people, especially also to indigenous women. And here you can see yes. So in 2010, September 20th, hundreds and hundreds of people, of women, attended the Nithyananda Lakshmi in Adi Kailasa, Nithyananda Sarvanapita in Bangalore, India, that was hosted personally by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to empower the indigenous women in various dimensions of life, such as self-empowerment with equal opportunities through Hindu economic principles. And again, here you can see a number of social initiatives that was conducted, such as the Annadan, the organic food distribution, where rural women, especially the widows, the single moms, the survivors of violence, are trained into life skills, forms of employment to empower them with self-employment. And here we can see the rural women being trained in a number of forms of employment through such as jewelry making, learning the science of Rudraksha, goldsmithing, and practicing of the lapidary. So the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is really also reviving the matrilineal society of Hinduism. And here you can see rural women and the indigenous community, through the training programs, organizing themselves into labor and trade groups through the agronomics, farming, cultivational and agricultural practices. Actually, in one of the presidential discourses, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had revealed that women, in their very DNA, they have the capacity to hold a family, a society together. So that is why it is very important to empower women. And Hinduism, the Vedas and Agamas Paramashiva has really emphasized on empowering women, and of course also giving women a place in decision making in parliaments. So the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, since the beginning of his mission, has given a lot of emphasis on initiating multiple programs that are specifically meant to provide education, to empower women, making them into leaders, making them to become self-dependent. So the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has also revived the Hindu economic policy of giving free food to all the citizens. The International Humanitarian Red Dome Agency works in association with Kailasa's Nithyananda Annalaya towards the unified goal of the No Hungry Stomach, and which is in compliance with Kailasa's economic policy of giving free food to all the citizens, adhering to the Vedagamic principle described by Paramashiva in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Briguvali, chapter 9, Navamo Anuvaka, verse 1, and chapter 7, Saptamo Anuvaka. So Paramashiva declares, "Let us create and share food. Let all hungry stomachs be fulfilled with food. let us not waste food, and no place you can drop food where there is no hunger, either outside or inside. And that is being authentic with food. So Hinduism really has the best to offer to the world. The history of Kailasa is one of tireless progress towards realizing, living, and freely practicing our founding Hindu principle of Aham Brahmasmi. Every technique, principle, and action described in the Vedas and the Agamas is deep halfway to realize the purpose of human life, living enlightenment in every aspect of life, including the consumption of food. And Paramashiva, the primordial Hindu divinity, an embodiment of the supreme consciousness himself, reveals the science of food and nutrition in meticulous detail in the Paka Shastra, the ancient cookbook of Hinduism. The food served is not to fill the void in our stomachs, but rather to experience and expand and realize our higher identity, which is Paramashiva. The Red Dome, in collaboration with Kailasa, Uniting Nations for Nutritious Food in a Hunger-Free World, has served over 1 billion organic sattvic vegetarian meals through more than 16,000 food banks, and continues to expand its services to fulfill its goal of eradicating hunger on a global scale till date. And the Red Dome aims to prevent hunger by deploying thousands of trained religious peacekeepers worldwide, and uses the Vedagamic methods and techniques to nourish communities through crisis and beyond. And the Red Dome has joined the fight against poverty and world hunger. So through the No Hungry Stomach or No Hungry Home project initiative, so Kailasa has been serving highly nutritious, life-saving meals for starving and malnourished children and their families in developing countries and around the world through the Nithyananda Annalayas or food banks as the best practice, not only from a societal context, but also for one's moral and spiritual upliftment. And initiating the No Hungry Home Stomach project in Kailasa's spiritual embassies, legations, consular offices, other facilities, including the Hindu temples, monasteries, satsang centers, paduka mandirs, micronations, and so on. And of course, the healing centers, Hindu universities and schools around the world, has been one of the major contributions by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism directly. And here you can see the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in 2002, himself personally distributing annadan or organic food to people. And here you can see more pictures of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Indeed, these are very beautiful pictures of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, where, you know, he stands as an inspiration, blissfully serving the community. And here you can see the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in 2006, tirelessly serving meals to thousands of people. And this was after a long event that was conducted personally, directly by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So Kailasa has also implemented sustainable agriculture. Paramashivam declares in the Prithvi Sukta in Atharva Veda that my mother is earth and I am her son. The Vedic literature is rich in hymns that worship nature in all its manifestation And sustainable agriculture was the lifestyle of the Vedic civilization. Kailasa has further expanded the initiative of our earth, our habitat, our home by adopting sustainable agriculture practices such as organic farming, rainwater harvesting, high density farming, and vertical gardening in all its spiritual embassies of Kailasa. And from the earliest days of the Hindu civilization, reverence for the environment has been an integral part of Hinduism. The Department of Agriculture has enabled the commencement of the herbal garden project in various embassies of Kailasa. Sacred herbs such as the Bringraj, Punankani, the Tutuvalai, are cultivated in the sacred fields of Kailasa and the spiritual embassies and distributed around the world to cleanse the body and to facilitate humanity in the realization of divinity within. And the Department of Agriculture, in collaboration with the Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for Ethical Environmentalism, has also adopted and implemented techniques of sustainable agriculture. And organic farming is widely practiced in our various embassies. And chemical-free fertilizers, such as the use of cow dung to grow organic toxin-free produce and preventing pollution of air, has been implemented. Vertical gardening is another technique implemented in the embassies of Kailasa to cultivate and nourish vegetation on a vertically suspended panel by using hydroponics. And vertical gardening provides a natural filtration of air, providing pure and fresh air, as well as creating, of course, sustainable ecosystem. So density farming, planting at a density in excess of that which gives maximum crop yield as a means of self-provisioning and increasing the efficiency of resources, has been adopted. And adaptation of these techniques revive the tradition of sustainable agriculture and introduce all of humanity to the natural benefits gifted by Bhudemi, or Mother Earth, and a contributory effort to make a green, healthy, safe, and green planet for oxygen-free future generations. So today's world has adopted what is called the method of conventional farming to meet the world's food demands. And this method of agriculture uses several chemical compositions to increase the yield of the crops at a lesser time period. And in the process, conventional agriculture produces increased greenhouse gas emission, leading to global warming, soil erosion, water pollution, and also, of course, threatens the human health. And Kailasa's Department of Agriculture strictly adheres to the organic way of farming rather than the conventional farming. And this method of farming focuses on producing quality yield, and Kailasa's Department of Agriculture has also taken constructive methods in increasing the yield using chemical-free fertilizers, such as what we've just mentioned, the use of cow dung and vegetation, and also the vegetarian compost to improve the overall health of the soil, meet the quantity demand, and prevent the pollution of air. So around the world, Kailasa has served over 1 billion organic sattvic vegetarian meals and continuing through more than 16,000 food banks, serving its purpose to eradicate hunger on a global scale. And the Red Dome aims to prevent hunger by deploying thousands of trained religious peacekeepers worldwide, and uses the Vedagamic methods of and techniques to nourish communities through crisis and beyond. And the Red Dome has, joined the fight against poverty and world hunger globally. So Kailasa has also implemented what is called permaculture. The limits of conventional agriculture have increased the need for a transition to an agricultural paradigm that is both environmentally and economically viable. And Kailasa around the globe have incorporated the science of permaculture, which is the conscious design and maintenance of agriculturally productive ecosystems that promotes the diversity, stability, and resilience of the natural ecosystems. And this effective method of farming has helped in producing organic yield during the dear COVID-19 pandemic, when there was a shortage of food and raw materials. And in fact, the permaculture has enabled Kailasa not only to be self-sufficient in all of our embassies, but also to be able to produce a surplus of food that was distributed to countries that were having a shortage of food. And we have also crop rotation that Kailasa has implemented, which is farming, so the practice of crop rotation in its farming methodologies, where different crops are grown in the same field at different times over a time period. And crop rotation aims to create favorable conditions for crop growth, enhancing soil fertility, and also minimizing the development of pests and weeds, as well as ensuring better nutrient management for achieving the key goal of protecting the soil from degradation in any way, including depletion of fertility and erosion. And here we can see beautiful pictures at the Adi Kailasa Nithyananda Sarvaneti that has adopted sustainable agriculture practices such as vertical gardening, high-density farming, and organic farming as well. And here we have more pictures of Kailasa, Salem, that houses acres of agricultural land for sustainable practices for the cultivation of crops, organic crops. And more pictures of Kailasa in Kashi, which is the creation of an ideal cultivation ecosystem on the banks of the river Ganga. And with this, we come to the end of the presentation. I really hope that this was enlightening to all of you. Please remember to sign up to be part of this great happening of Kailasa, of this mission of Kailasa, the only Hindu nation functioning on the cosmic principles as codified in the ancient Vedas and Agamas. And do not miss this amazing opportunity, this once in a lifetime opportunity to be part of this unique happening of the building of Kailasa, the only Hindu nation functioning on the cosmic principles. So please do sign up. And now let us get ready. Very shortly, we'll be receiving the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, for darshan. Nithyananda.